Hello, welcome to the Big Bang Theory podcast. My name's John. I'm here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Hello.
Dan, it's finally over.
Yes.
It's done. Finito.
That's it for a while.
It's it for a while. For a couple of months.
Yeah.
We can be...
That's the end of the third season of Caldwell. Fourth.
Third full, isn't it? The second full, third in total.
Right. There you go.
Yes, which means we're now in League One for a fourth successive season.
Excellent.
Excellent. But it ended with an absolute whimper.
I mean, as it quite often does for a mid-table side, especially when they're playing another mid-table side.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked a bit more of a like, or it ended with kind of nothing. Because it's been a bit of pathetic ending. 3-0 away to Mansfield, isn't it?
I think it's just fine that happened. I mean, we don't want to... I think in terms of kind of accurately documenting the events that preceded it, I think that's about right. To have a win as the ending,
yeah,
would be, I think, to kind of gloss over the fact that it's been a largely forgettable season.
Yeah.
And I don't think that as much as we deserve, as much as the team and the manager and whatnot deserve credit for where we finished and for the overall achievement.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that sugarcoats it a bit if we were to end it on a big high. I think it's about right that it ends on, yeah, we did fine, but this is not this isn't some amazing feat.
No.
This isn't some special age, and this is good on paper, but it's not really, it's not brilliant.
Well, if we're all like, it's no wonder with the butt of like Argyle supporters' jokes, if we're all like delighted with 16th in League One with a 3-0 loss as our final game. Like, you know, you're absolutely right. It's fine. The overall thing is fine. That ending is exactly as banal as most of the rest of it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah. City, they didn't play that badly.
No, we didn't really. Didn't play much worse than we have done for most of the season.
Mm-hmm. Still no striker on the pitch.
Well, that's the problem. And even though there is a striker on the pitch, there was very little in the way of sort of knowing how to score goals.
Indeed.
From anybody, you know,
Indeed.
regardless of who's playing. If anything, I think it kind of illustrated a point of this isn't a personnel issue. Not necessarily. It's not just about who, you know, McGuinness, he's over the hill. That's why we're not scoring more goals. That might be a contributing factor to why McGuinness has less goals than he maybe could have done,
yeah,
or someone else could have done, but that's not the reason.
No.
It's down to the way we play and not down to who it is there, although sometimes who's there doesn't necessarily help matters.
Agreed.
Niskanen.
Agreed. Niskanen had a few...
Tom Dean started this one, though, on the right wing back, and that's encouraging.
Yeah, he looks good, doesn't he?
He looked good.
Young lad.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he...
I imagine he goes on loan next season.
You'd assume so, wouldn't you?
Not always the case. Obviously, with outstanding... Jake Richards didn't go on loan, so we'll see how that pre-season goes.
Yep, indeed. So it was a 3-0 defeat away, as we've said. Great away support. Brilliant, singing all the time, and sounded really good on the radio. And
fancy dress.
All that stuff. Fair play to him. So that gets us to the end of the year. Shall I run through where that leaves us?
Please.
We're 16th in the league, which is our worst League One finish of this sitting in League One.
Yeah, although it's basically
the same.
Yeah.
Of that, to get there, we won 15 games. We drew 11. We lost 20. We scored 49 goals and we conceded 65, which gives us minus 16 on the goal average and 56 points in the end, which is perfectly respectable. 10 points clear of relegation.
It's basically one goal a game in it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you'll see the reason why it's been harder since January because the top scorer was Melenik Ali with 9. Left us. Although he'll be back with us in a way next season. More on that in a minute. McGuinness got 6. Mitchell and Watts both got 4. And then in terms of assists, I was surprised by this. Ed Francis was the leading assist maker. He got 6. McGuinness and Macmillan got 3 each.
There you go.
It's not a lot of numbers there. Can I shock you though?
Well,
Dan?
no. I mean, but you look at the total number, and then the other numbers, have to be low, don't they?
It's just maths.
That's just simple arithmetic. Algebra.
Now, some of you may have seen the statistic going round, which said that Exeter City were the joint worst average shots on target per game of the entire Football League and Premier League.
Yes.
What was it? 1.9?
Something like
No,
that.
2.8.
2.8.
2.8.
Yeah. Joint with Shrewsbury, right?
Yeah, that's right, who got relegated. Now, obviously, this is more basic maths, but when you add together those, when you know how many shots we've had on target, it's a really shockingly low number, right?
Yeah.
130 shots on target in the entire season. 130.
That's very low, isn't it?
It's insane. Which then, of course, averages out at 2.8 a game. I mean, as we know, we've stood through it. Some of those games, there were none. So...
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean...
But that's crazy, isn't it? And that's the statistic I think that will stick in my mind as this has not been right.
Well, this is what it will go... This is what the legacy will be of this time.
Can't shoot, won't shoot.
If it continues in this... fashion, which we have to assume it will, because you'd be, why would you think any different? And this is what it will, this is what it will be. It will be looked at as a good, in terms of like position and the kind of club status. You cannot fault it. Excellent, a great thing to do to get us consolidated in League One. Like that's what we wanted. When we were languishing for 10 years in League Two, and further back before the last visit up to League One, when we, back in the conference days, and all this time that we've always, what we kind of dreamed of being a kind of, not just a League One team, but a team that could consolidate itself in League One and be an established League One team. And maybe we're not necessarily pushing for playoffs or anything, but just to be a kind of that's what we are. We are a League One, and I'd say pretty much. I mean, one more season of it, and it will be without question. But I'd say already that's what we are pretty much.
Yep.
And that's been achieved, and that is, like I said, that's what everybody wanted. That's what we've got. It's good. It's brilliant. We've got to give. You got to give credit to everyone for achieving it. There are caveats.
There are caveats.
It's like everything. You can't have everything you want. So it's the trade-off. Do you want that?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want it, even if it means you're going to have the lowest shots on target in the whole footballing, top 4 leagues? Do you want it? That's that's what happened.
Yeah.
So that's the conundrum. And so, it's weird because you'll see it as a very successful period in the club's history, but one which you're not going to spend too much time thinking about, how it actually played out.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got glorious memories. We haven't got glorious memories, have we?
No, it's I don't think there's anything wrong with it saying it. It's not good. It's not good, enjoyable time.
No.
The end result is brilliant. The process is bad.
Agreed.
Really bad, and it can be really hard to watch sometimes. And the way that makes you feel is much stronger. That the emotion for that is much stronger than this kind of like overall the kind of not abstract, but the kind of like more kind of thing. Oh, well, yeah, but we are solid. We are a solid League One team, and we've got this league position. Blah 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 blah. If you think about that and focus on that, that's good and that's better. But in the moment, you're thinking, "I hate this,"
yes.
And you're shouting, "Release them all!" from the big bank at the
some of us are,
and other things at the manager.
Yes.
People are calling him a fathead.
Some people have called
And
him a
other,
fan.
and other things.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, you're absolutely right. So, all right, with that in mind then, Dan, because it has been a successful, air quotes, season. What's been your best moment of the season?
My best moment of the season.
Shall I tell you mine while you think about it?
Yeah, go on.
It was the FA Cup, which, by the way,
Oh, I loved that.
the Colwell has been a really good cup manager for us.
Hasn't he?
And come in a long line of very bad cup managers.
Yeah, that's got to be added in, actually. Because that Nottingham Forest match was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And, you know, that flies in the face of the whole rest of what I've just said, basically. It's just, why does it have to be only in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I can't take that away. That's be mine as well.
That was lovely bit of football, wasn't it? Lovely.
The whole thing was great.
Yeah. Leading up to that as well, of course, let's not forget Jay Bird's falling over goal, which is...
Yeah, also, I can't remember even who it was against or whatever, but I really liked... I think it was in, like... Was it in, like, one of the kind of, like, EFL trophy or whatever? I like that Jake Richards free kick.
That was a trophy, yeah. It was, yeah. Yeah, I watched it on the telly.
I really like that one.
Yeah, fair dues. So who's been your favourite player this year?
That's a tough one. There's no one I would go... I mean, Jake Richards, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's more kind of because of glimpses of actual brilliance on the pitch.
Yeah.
And partly because kind of the only academy player really playing.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'd guess Caleb Watts.
Yeah, I'd say Watts. I also loved Hartridge coming back, actually.
Oh, I loved that too, yeah. I mean, there's a good chance it would have been Dimitri Mitchell if he hadn't got those injuries.
Yeah.
Because whenever he plays, he's always someone that I'm just happy to be watching.
I loved it as well when Pat Jones finally made it into the team and then just started putting in really good crosses
And he just
from the
bombed it
actual
down.
byline.
He just bombed it down the right wing over and over again and just crossed it right footed from the byline. Yeah, that was good.
We saw very little of that really, but that was great. If he does stay with us next year and keeps fit, I think he'd be really good.
Another couple of standout moments, a couple of absolute crunching tackles from John Leofeca. That was really enjoyable.
Certainly was.
Yeah.
Very good. No, who's
the introduction of the half-time fan race?
Of course. Marvellous.
Genuinely been the salve to the terrible football that we've seen at St James Park this season, has been watching that at half-time. Yeah,
even with the biased umpire, so that City won it every time.
Whoever's idea that was.
It's good.
Yeah.
Tell you who's not cut it for me. Well, you know what I'm going to say, listeners. It's the man in charge. He's been disappointing in his unwillingness to adapt.
Yep.
For clearly an intelligent football man, I just don't get it. And I get why you would think, I'll approach it in this way, but I don't get why you won't change.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he did adapt.
Yeah.
In January.
Just in ways that I wasn't.
He just adapted from one shit way of playing football to another shit way of playing football. Yeah. We don't have to keep saying, oh, it worked, though, because it did. But yeah.
That's for me.
That's fair.
And I have to say, I was really disappointed that I don't know why Niskanen came back into the team post driving ban. And this is partly a moral issue, I suppose. But it's not, because they didn't leave him out because of that. But it just provided the natural break. Niskanen became, and he's clearly a very hard-working footballer, but he became the embodiment of Colwell just being pig-headed. And I just don't think he's up to our level. And also I don't think it's fair on him to get put in these situations.
It seems like Gary Colwell is the only person who thinks he's up to this level. I mean...
Yeah, and he must train really hard. And like we said, he's clearly got a good work ethic. And when he's tracking back, he can be really useful. But it's not fair on him as a player that he would then be the one getting in these attacking positions because of the way he's been asked to play when he clearly can't score a goal.
Yeah, or even pick anybody out most of the time. Yeah.
And I'm not making him a scapegoat, but that didn't make sense to me. And that was... it was just kind of emblematic of the wider problem, which was that the manager's very, very secure in his job and his position, and seems to be getting more secure I'm not calling him evil, but it feels a lot like the Emperor in Star Wars getting rid of the elected officials and just putting himself in charge.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Maybe that's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
But when he shoots Jake Richards with force lightning,
Yeah.
then we'll know.
A bit like Putin, you say, sort of bit like that as well, would you say?
Seems a bit strong.
Well, it's just what you've kind of described.
No, like I said, he's clearly an intelligent football guy. His transfers have been great. He's been an excellent cup manager for us. Like you've all listened to hours and hours of us talking about this.
I like how he comes across as well.
Yeah. But what's the stubbornness about?
Just weird. I mean, I don't expect him to listen to fans.
No. I expect him to listen to basic statistics.
Well, yeah.
130 shots in an entire season of football.
Yeah. There's also the thing of like, we let Ali go in the January window.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of business decision. Clearly not a football decision because he's the only one scoring any goals.
Yeah.
Which was a good business decision, but disappointing because Ali was kind of one of the only people in that team who you think he could do something that's off script. I know he accused Caleb Watts of going off script, and he was another one. But Caleb was playing really well. I think he's not quite got the kind of that little special something up his sleeve that Ali has. He really can just come out with something just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
As he's shown, he's done well for Luton, and despite them getting relegated, he's done pretty well for them. But
I mean, don't forget how mad Colwell went at Ali all the time. He clearly both couldn't deny the 9 goals, but it drove him to absolute
So you're saying
insanity.
that it's partially a business decision to get rid of him and partially a decision to sort of save his own sort of vocal cords?
Maybe.
Not that they made much difference. He's just screamed at other people instead.
I just...
including refs.
I understand why we had to make the business decision on selling him. I don't understand why you'd bring in loan players who are clearly no better than our own players to fill the gaps.
Well, yeah, I suppose we did bring in Andrew Olorobori. That was on a perm.
But he's not... I don't understand the Tony, Trevitt, Colwell...
No, it's another factor in it. That does seem again quite strange. The loan situation with Kamari Doyle going back, and then we don't know the details.
No, we don't.
The time.
It's just the facts here. The facts are it hasn't worked. So that's
and when it doesn't work, then you start asking the questions of kind of like, well, why did we do that then? Yeah. Why, if Joel Colwell, when he wasn't performing, he seemed to play, and there was other people that maybe could have played instead of him, that didn't.
Yeah. Anyway, there it is. I give him full credit for another league without relegation, without even really threat of relegation.
Didn't go in the relegation zone, I don't think, at any point.
No.
Maybe very, very briefly, but I don't know.
I think that was only ever during the Saturday.
During a game, possibly not, and then not by the end of play.
That's right. So I give him credit for that. I give him credit for the cup run and successive cup runs. I give him absolute credit for some of the quality of players he's brought in.
Yeah, and to be honest, of the running of the club, generally, it's just the actual football, and the problem is with that is that the football really is the main thing.
Yep.
If what you're watching makes you miserable every week, which was the case for a large amount of people for a large amount of the season, then that is a bit of an issue. But it looks very much like he's going to be here again next season.
It does.
We don't know. Obviously, anything can happen in the between now and whenever it starts again. June, July, no.
There'll be friendlies in July, won't they?
August, the season starts. Anything can happen. But looks like he'll be here again, and you never know.
Well, you never know. I'm going to try and be positive about it next year. Think, new start, new set of players.
He is aware of it. He's talked about it in interviews that he knows about about the stats.
Yeah.
Obviously, of course, he knows about the stats, but he knows we haven't had any shots and we haven't scored any goals, and hopefully that's something that he'll be looking at. But I suppose we can come on to We've already got the retained list.
We have, yeah. It came out early. Should we go through that now?
Yeah.
Okay, so leaving the club, some of these were not a surprise and some of them were a bit of a surprise. Czech Diabate's leaving again. I know he was only ever out on loan at Bradford, but he's going.
He is now gone, yes.
Vinnie Harper, I am surprised about. He's going.
Yep.
Angus MacDonald, apparently we can't really afford him. He's going. Been good for us, thank you very much. Sean MacDonald, no shock to anyone. He's going. Ben Purrington's off.
Not really a shock.
Not really a shock. There are big swathes of the season where he wasn't used at all. And then 3 of the young lads, Mitch Beardmore, Gabe Billington, Max Edgecombe, are all off.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to enough of the under 18s or other matches that they might have featured in to really say anything about those 3. I mean, the ones I have been to, they either not played or I've not really noticed them. They definitely didn't stand out, but
No.
That's what happens. You give young players a pro contract. They've essentially got a year then to see, if they can do anything. It's been judged that these guys are not going to make the cut. So yeah,
so they're off now. In ongoing negotiations, some of these are more surprising than others. Caleb Watts, which obviously we're pleased about.
Yeah, so these are players that have been offered contracts,
Yes,
but haven't
yet said no or yes.
Yes.
Caleb Watts, Jake Richards. Interestingly, after all the talk of he was definitely off, he'd already signed for Spurs, Manchester United, the Moon, whatever. Pedro Borges, great. Harry Lee. I mean, I'm not surprised because he's, we're told how good he is, but I am surprised in that he's not getting any game time at all. But I guess he's still young for a goalkeeper, kind of. And then Frankie Phillips, who is young for a goalkeeper, they're all in negotiations.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of options that have been triggered either by us or by the players, Josh McGuinness is staying. John Liafecco is staying. Love that. And Jay Bird, after his successful loan away at Rochdale, he's staying as well.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's particularly interesting because we're obviously not having a complete overhaul of the front line, or McGuinness is going to be in and around it to some extent. Jay Bird, we'd assume. I mean, we said last week, didn't we?
To be honest, that news came in yesterday. A lot of people were very pleased about it.
Which one? The Jay Bird one?
About McGuinness largely, and then that all that says to me is an area which I thought should really be a priority for drastic improvement clearly isn't going to be an area for drastic improvement because you've got players signed in those positions. You've literally just renewed 2 contracts.
Yeah.
Sonny Cox is also under contract.
Yeah.
So we essentially haven't lost anyone from the 4 positions.
No.
Colbert also said he wants a smaller squad. What that says to me is it's possible that Bird or Cox will go on loan and then we will bring someone else in.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, that says to me we're not going to sign a striker, which I think is a mistake.
I mean, it might also be, I suppose, with Jay Bird in particular.
Because we've got Ola Rabori as well, who Colwell seems to think is a striker, even though clearly isn't.
Yes. The thing about Bird is, and also Cox, we may well sell Cox. Like, he might just be sold. He's in contract at the moment.
Yeah.
He might go for a good amount of money because Gary doesn't particularly fancy him and he clearly finds it hard in this system. So that could go. I also wonder with Jay Bird if people want him, because obviously he's done really well in the National League. The National League is full of money, well worth our time to pay his summer month's wages, to then he might be sold in August or September,
Yeah, that's possible.
That seems plausible. McGuinness, I'm assuming he'll still be in and around the first team.
Yeah.
Right, then we've got 4 players who are being allowed to stay on with us.
This is a new category in the retained list. I've not seen this one before.
What are they calling it now?
Allowed to... no, I can't remember.
Anyway, the basic notion is they'll be in and around the club, but we're not paying them. So that's Dimitri Mitchell, Pat Jones, Yannick Wildschut and Kevin McDonald.
The category is called Players Invited Back for Pre-Season.
Okay, so that might be, see how they get on. Like Pat Jones, you might be like, well, we're not sure if you're going to be fit for August.
Well, Colwell's already explained it, basically, unless he's, I mean, in a roundabout way, it's that all those players are injured, basically, or are returning from injury in case of Yannick Wiltshire, and he said that they'll be here, they'll train. But they're not under contract. So if someone else comes, anyone else, other club can come in and offer them the contract, and they can go at any point.
Yeah.
Also, we could offer them a contract at any point if that's what's happening there.
I mean, obviously, there's real value in Mitchell and Jones if they're fit enough.
Yeah,
being kept on with.
Those are two players that I would. I mean, again, it's just the injuries, isn't it? I mean, both of them just are injured a lot.
Yeah.
They are just injured a lot. I mean, which I think is a real shame, but they're also expensive.
Yeah.
And as much as I would love to have them playing, I don't necessarily want to have to use that bit of the wage budget for have a really good player who's going to miss 2/3 or half of the season.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, agreed.
And then you have to rely on other players who aren't up to the job, which is basically what's happened this season.
Yeah.
We've had better players, those ones.
Yeah.
Mitchell, Pat Jones, even Wiltshire.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the people that have played.
Yeah.
Just sat there. I know it's not their fault they get injured.
Yeah.
Not saying that, but other people, worse players, have then had to play instead because you can't have it's the way it goes. You've got a budget, haven't you?
So that's that category. Now, Kevin McDonald, presumably, he either fancies himself as a coach, or we might have him as a coach at some point, but he thinks he can maybe do another season of some level of football.
Yeah, but I mean, he clearly waved goodbye at the end of that last home game.
Maybe it is literally he's hoping for a club, but he wants to stay fit.
Yeah, maybe.
And obviously him and Gary are mates, aren't they? And then there's 3 signings from the academy that are given a pro contract, like you said a minute ago. And they are Liam Oakes, who we've heard of before, and then George Birch and Kieran Wilson.
Yeah.
So maybe the future right there.
Liam Oakes, a player that I was saying earlier on when I have been to kind of like age group kind of matches or whatever.
Yep.
That he won, who does stand out. Along with that guy, like Kalis, but I'm guessing he's still too young to be off the pro belt. But Liam Oakes looked brilliant. Really good.
There's been whispers about him, hasn't there, for a while?
And the other two, don't know much about them. I mean, we just recognise their names really, but they must be players that we think have got to the age that and are worth having a punt on. Like some of the lads released, Billington and Beardsmore and Edgecombe, that we may not see any of these 3 this season, and then this time next year we'll be talking about how they're gone. But you never know. You
never know. So that's the squad comings and goings so far. We're going to talk about the end of season awards and some other stuff after this. Welcome back to the Big Bank Theory podcast. Do you want to send us a postcard over the summer? Please do. bigbankpod@gmail.com. Be digital, of course, Dan, but we still accept it.
Moonpig.
What do you call me?
You get it off Moonpig or something.
Oh, yeah.
Don't bother wasting your money on that. Times are tough.
Fair enough.
If you can do it for free, sure.
Yeah. bigbankpod@gmail.com. Hope you have a nice summer. Sunday night was the end of season awards. It was done in the old marquee on the pitch.
Massive marquee on the pitch.
Was it a different way of approaching things? I understand it. Makes sense to do it at the club. Can't fit us in anywhere else.
Cheaper, I guess.
Cheaper, yeah. University always feels a bit funny, doesn't it, and all that stuff. So see why they were doing that.
Well, I think maybe we can come on to in a bit. Maybe we're looking at areas to limit the spending.
Maybe.
But the big marquee won't have come cheap because it was massive.
Right, okay. So there were various awards given out. The main ones that are worth us talking about are the goal of the season was Reece Cole's lovely volley against Bristol Rovers.
Yes.
Which basically sunk them.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, Reece. The player of the year, as voted for by the fans, was Joe Whitworth. Well done, Joe. Been a good addition to the team this year. Don't expect we'll see you again.
Load of clean sheets. Basically kept his powder dry, hasn't he? Good character.
Yeah. Clearly like being at Exeter City.
Yeah, bought into it. Seemed like a nice lad. Another successful loan keeper.
Yep.
Basically, I mean,
would be nice to have our own keeper.
I'd really like to have our own keeper, but I mean, if that's not going to happen, at least
Yeah.
they've been good when we've had them. And a bit of a weird one, but I suppose it goes when you have a season where you don't score any goals or even have any shots.
Yeah.
But you don't go down. It's fairly likely that your best player is going to be a goalkeeper, isn't it?
It is. It is. And then the Players' Player of the Year was, some people were surprised by this, Jack McMillan.
Yes.
Now, we've always said that he was stitched up.
Shots fired from the players to some of the fan base there, if you ask me. We've seen a bit of it already. Sweeney on Twitter taking swipes at supporters for having a pop at McMillan. We've already talked about that, haven't we?
Yep.
How I don't think we haven't slagged him off. Not in the same level, not in the same way that we've slagged off some of the others.
Yeah.
He's a solid player. I can totally see why a player like that would the other players would like him.
Yeah.
Because he's been very dependable.
Yeah.
He's basically not missed a single game.
Yeah. Done everything that's been asked of him, or tried to.
Yeah. When we play well, he probably goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
And when we play badly,
yeah,
he can be highlighted. He's also filled in different positions.
Indeed, yes.
Which is, I think, where the kind of some of the frustration comes, because you think, why is this guy playing there? I think that's the only things we've ever said.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes, you know.
Anyway, well done, Jack. I do think that's well deserved. I think you've worked hard, and
some credit is definitely due. You know, he's been really solid player all season.
Now, I'd like to give credit to Caleb Watts' Taylor.
Magnificent.
If you haven't seen it, all the rest of the players are in various grey or blue or black suits.
Poor on the whole, I'd say.
That's your general
the suiting from the men's first team squad.
Sweeney had a nice bow tie.
Sweeney actually one of the better ones. He looked good because he kept it simple. Some very questionable choices. Some of them wearing those Sky Sports trainers with a suit.
Yes.
Now, trainers with a suit, I mean, it can work, but not in that context, I'm afraid. Definitely not the Sky Sports trainers either.
If you don't know what we're talking about, they're the black trainers, white soles, right?
Yeah, sort of like, very plain looking.
Completely generic. I've got no idea who makes them.
Yeah, that looks awful.
Yeah. So a few of them had that on.
Some of them...
But Caleb Watts
wearing some sort of crushed velvet, red, double-breasted suit.
Yeah.
With a pair of what looked like kind of maybe black suede Chelsea boots with it, maybe perhaps with boots with a little Cuban heel even.
Absolutely,
and a cravat.
Yeah, with
possibly a kind of nod or a kind of indirect kind of dig at Gary Caldwell, a man who is rumoured to have had his disagreements with. A nod to one of Gary's predecessors, Paul Tisdale, a man who undoubtedly would have appreciated Caleb Watts'
panache
and talents.
Certainly.
Anything else,
Yeah, so you think Watts was cosplaying as Tisdale, do you?
No, I just think it was a little nod.
Okay.
Tisdale never went quite that far with his fashion, did he?
He didn't.
But he looked brilliant.
Yeah, he really did.
And it wasn't just out there, it was also a well put together outfit. Which is more than you can say for some of the rest.
Well, I'd like to say
for David Perkins.
Yeah, a word on David Perkins, who dressed as like part county show judge.
Yeah.
Part like man on safari.
Yeah. He had a sort of fedora of sorts and a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah.
And then a really, really bad suit that didn't fit him properly.
And then he covered it up nicely by skipping into the marquee.
Clearly, a big joke to David, isn't it? Fashion, and I think that's up to him.
It is, but we have noticed, Perks.
He's a joker.
What a card.
He's a Sammy Lee to Caldwell's Big Sam, isn't he?
Maybe. Oh, he looks a bit like Sammy Lee, doesn't he?
Does a bit, yeah.
So that was that. Apart from that, everyone seemed like having a nice time. The women's team obviously had a really good season. First year in the name of which I've now forgotten, but the league they're in.
Yeah, finished fourth.
Finished fourth, like sterling effort, because it was quite a big rebuild for them. They moved quite a lot of players on, brought a lot in, and they've done really well. So they were able to celebrate that. See the men's team, another successful campaign in terms of the league finish and all that stuff. So yeah, it was they were having a good time.
It looked like a nice time. Yeah, there was. This was just before the retained list went out,
That's
so
right.
there was a few kind of things that were kind of like let slip.
Yeah, Vinnie Harper let people know he was going, didn't he? That kind of thing.
etc., etc.
But fair enough.
There you go. That's the awards.
That's the awards.
Who won the East Devon Fogies Cup, or whatever it is?
McGuinness, maybe.
The old man, the old boys,
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
or the old East Devon boys, the octogenarians.
I'm looking. Still going with that. Don't know. There's loads. There's North Devon. There's East Devon.
Yeah, there's all sorts.
East Devon was Josh McGuinness.
I mean, it's no surprise that the old people's group give the reward to one of the older players.
They're not the old people. North Devon also gave Josh McGuinness. The junior Grecians gave Josh McGuinness.
And then there's why have we got a Norwegian Grecians?
I was trying to remember.
I get why we've got it, because you have those little kind of things all over the shop,
Yeah.
like it'd be like, oh, there's a
You mean why do they get an award?
Cambodian Exeter City supporters group. What I mean is, why are they?
I
got
think
an
it's because when
award?
Dom Sanders died, who was one of the members there, I think in his memory they donated a trophy. I'm happy to be corrected on that. I think that was the
Right, okay.
school of thought. But you're right.
Shows what I know.
Well, are there any supporters groups that aren't represented in the awards? That's what I want to know. Because maybe senior
The Big
Grecians-
Bang Theory podcast listeners commemorative award.
Yeah, that's not there. And the senior Grecians don't give out an award.
I thought they did McGuinness one.
No, that's East Devon or North Devon.
Oh, okay. I don't know what goes on here.
Anyway, there we are.
The irony is, of course, you might call yourself the old Exeter City Codgers, whatever they're called. Well, they're called senior Grecians.
Yeah.
But all those supporters groups are exclusively made up of people over 70.
Wow. Wowee. Thanks for listening, Codgers.
Oh, you're welcome here, geezers. But, we've also got very young listeners, as we've already pointed out earlier in the season. Some as young as 8.
Wow.
Isn't that right? Wasn't there an 8-year-old
There's a
listener?
12-year-old.
Oh, okay.
Don't know, 8-year-old. Oh, 10-year-old maybe.
Was there?
Well, because we're not as young as we once were, Dan.
That's true.
Um,
That is very true.
so-
And when I get even older,
Yes.
then I'll stop making fun of old people.
It's good of you.
Yeah.
You'll make fun of really old people.
I'll make fun of kids.
So there's some slightly
Idiots.
interesting news
Idiots
coming out.
with, no brain.
Oh, you're still going.
Bird brains. It's like if you're listening to this and you're under 20, you're an idiot.
That's good. That's like
Let's move on. I don't want to pursue this line
You're
of inquiry.
saying it. No one else is saying it. You're your own
Stop
man.
me then.
All right, I am going to stop you. So there's some slightly confusing news, I suppose, coming out of the club this week. Mention of a kind of restructuring or people from the media team having to reapply for their jobs. We don't know the ins and outs of that, of course, and there may well be legitimate reasons for that we don't understand. I guess we just want to say, don't we, on record, that we think what the media team does is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I imagine that's not disputed at the club.
Yeah.
At the decision-making level. If it's true, which there's some suggestion that, Hawke has commented saying basically kind of we can't talk about it yet.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something going on. If that is the case and they're cost cutting, then
I would cut some other costs.
well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the figures on that. How much we spend out on that thing. I would say it looks like pretty good value, whatever it is to me, because we get excellent output, which I think people really engage with.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I don't look at not a lot of other teams' kind of output, but people are always saying that ours is better than other clubs, and
I know our numbers are
believe what
really
they
good,
say.
aren't they? I know when they compare our numbers of like WhatsApp followers and TikTok followers.
And we always do well with those fan engagement things.
Yeah.
I would think it's a strange decision to do, but then again,
maybe we don't understand. Maybe something different is happening. That's
Exactly.
actually a positive change.
exactly. I would say that there's a slight kind of. I'm I'm not going to start pointing fingers at specific people, but there does seem to be a kind of slight pivot in direction from the, not as much the trust, but from the football club into a kind of more of a kind of corporate kind of way.
Yeah.
That was, and sometimes when you go down that route, then these are the sort of things that happen. Sentimentality, in a way, goes out the window.
Yeah.
You might be people you're really fond of, but if someone who's like kind of like a kind of more of a kind of like business kind of idea, people are involved, they suddenly say, well, that's not important. What's important is the bottom line. Which is something that I don't like at all. And like, if the club goes in that direction, there are some advantages to that. Not this, but for these people, but sometimes, but on the whole, it's not something that I particularly welcome.
No, indeed. So, well, we hope there's a positive outcome there. We hope it's something that if there's changes to be made, it makes the right changes.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think people really like that content.
Oh,
I like the parts of it that I consume. I really like.
Yeah, ditto.
So, I hope nothing changes in that regard. Basically,
yeah, indeed. Maybe it'll be virtual reality. Maybe they're bringing in new virtual reality.
Could well be. It'll be all AI now, isn't it? You know, they don't need
reality.
Bratt up there, Stuart Bratt doing all those things, because you can just have an AI guy do it instead.
AI. I mean, you can't spell Craig without AI.
Yeah, but you could just have Craig doing it.
Yeah.
Not Craig.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to see more like virtual reality. So I put my goggles on, and then Craig Bratt talks to me in my living room, tells me about the lineups.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that's fine.
Yeah.
You can have that.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to actually do that in reality, because he's put enough of his face and voice out there in video.
Yeah.
Now
we can just clone him.
Even yeah, exactly. Even a kind of like, medium level AI kind of system.
Yeah.
Could completely recreate him and carry on forever. Without the man himself even existing.
Wow.
So
something to worry about.
That
Craig.
may well be what's going on. We don't know.
You think they're replacing the entire social media team with robots?
Yeah, could well be. Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it's already happened and we don't even know about it.
Maybe we're already living in the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly.
If this was the Matrix, you think they'd give us some better football to watch, wouldn't you?
I know, but maybe that's all part of it.
Oh, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, because you have to kind of strive, don't you?
Yeah. You got to drip feed
Can't
it.
Can't be easy. Yeah.
Otherwise people start getting suspicious.
It would be suspicious. If Exeter City did win some stuff, I would think I was in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah. But come on, give me some in Matrix overlords. It's been diabolical.
They've given you a 16th place finish.
And a Nottingham Forest visit. Chris Wood stared at us. That's my prize.
Yeah, Roy Keane and Ian Wright were there.
They were.
That can't have happened in real life.
That can't be the Matrix then. They're too real.
Well, you don't think that AI is sophisticated enough to recreate a couple of old boys from a distance as well?
AI. From a distance. I was seeing them from a distance. Okay. Thanks for ruining my evening. So, final thing to tackle, I think. We're done here for another season. This has been our 7th season.
Is it?
7th season. The first one wasn't a full one, but yeah.
Okay, so we've done 6.5.
Yeah.
Sort of started about in January or something, didn't
something
we?
Like that, yeah. Remember being dark.
7 seasons. There you go.
Well done if you've stuck with it this far. Fair play to you.
The good news is the retained list for next season for the Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
It's only got 2 names on it.
Good.
Retained for another season, me and you.
Oh, good. I was worried for a second. I thought it was going to be an AI.
So we will be returning.
We will be returning. I guess we'll be back in June or July.
Yeah, unless something major
happens,
then we'll obviously there'll be a sort of like emergency podcast, but we'll be doing other things with our summers.
If the Matrix
realizes, family things, me, basically nothing.
If the Matrix realizes that we're onto it,
yeah,
and so thinks that obviously this time they've made Perks too unbelievable. There's no way anyone could believe that's a real person. and he starts being all like suave and James Bond like,
Yeah.
then we'll know. The
Well,
Matrix
if
is
anything
real.
happens to us,
yeah.
let this be the record that we were not, aware of it.
By the way, for anyone listening who's under 30, The Matrix was a film in the 90s.
Yeah, but everyone knows about it now because it's back in the old discourse, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
What a relief. Okay, final point of business, Dan. It's the predictions competition.
Yes.
Do you remember it was slimmed down from last year?
It returned again for this season against my will,
Yes,
basically.
But people called for it, and they got it. So you recall there was only 4 questions this time. League position finish, top scorer, most red cards, and then biggest surprise. Some of the surprise answers were very amusing. My favourite was the one about Niskanen doing a backflip with his only goal and breaking his back. Not that I want him to break his back, but I thought that amused me. And also, me and you were given the freedom of the city. Good prediction.
Chance would be a fine thing. We're not even invited to the award ceremony.
No, we're not even invited.
For the 7th year in a row, we've not been invited to the end of season awards ceremony, despite doing all of this for free. Basically free social media. They can't make us redundant, can they? Because we're doing it for nothing
We're already
already.
redundant. Yeah, I know. So whatever.
I wouldn't go anyway.
Anyway, so that was the questions. The answers are that we finished 16th. You'll know that. Our top scorer was Melenik Ali, 9 goals. You know that. And our most red cards was actually a 4-way tie.
Yeah.
They all got 1. Rubbish. Obviously, Colwell we didn't count. We should have specified. But Francis, Watts, Woods and McMillan all got a red card.
I'm hoping now that no one actually went for Colwell because that could have...
No one went for Colwell.
Did they not?
No.
Okay.
Ill-advised.
I mean, again, the
someone went for Perks.
The lackluster answers to the predictions competition just mirror the lackluster nature of this season, really. So we've done... everyone's done their best. We did it. And
we did it.
We do have a winner. He had 9 people who got 2 answers correct.
Well done if that was you.
Because obviously there's that many people with a red card and Ali was a fairly common choice for top goal scorer.
Yeah.
So enough people had that or had... not many people got 16th actually, which surprises me.
Seems it's a bit too nothing 16th, doesn't it? I never think about 16th being a position.
I know, exactly. So the winner is...
Yeah, drum roll, please.
Yeah, just imagine a drum roll. That's you doing one. That's not imagining. Also, I'm not sure that was a drum roll, but it was something. I'm on the wrong group chat.
Oh, it's the predictions one.
Here it is.
Got it.
The winner is...
Yes.
Who had 3 answers correct.
So he said...
His answers... He got... His answers were this. Final position, 14th.
Close.
Too optimistic. Top scorer, Melenik Ali, and most red cards, he had Woods in there.
And he numbered it, Woods with 1.
Yeah, fair dues. But that didn't ultimately matter because he said his surprise of the season, which, while uninspiring, was true, was the FA Cup 4th round or further. So that is Dan the Grecian on X.
Well done, Dan.
At Dan Fredland, which I'm assuming is his surname. Anyway, he wins.
Well done, Dan.
So get in touch.
That's not you.
It's not me. Get in touch. And we will arrange the prize.
It's a big prize. This one's actually ready to go.
Well, yeah. Well, I've actually posted last year's prize as well. So
good. All right. So
we're all back on course.
Good. Stop worrying about it, everyone. So Dan the Grecian, Dan Fredland, can you email us? Big Bank Pod.
If you're still listening, then get in touch. If we don't hear from you in, what do we say, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
If you don't hear from you in 3 weeks to the day from now, so if you haven't heard from you
we're efficient.
by May 27th,
good,
which is the day that's not accounting for bank holidays. 3 weeks inclusive of bank holidays.
Good.
The prize will go elsewhere.
Yeah, indeed. So get in touch. You can email us, bigbankpod@gmail.com, or you can, if he messages you on Twitter, will it come?
No, because I'm not going to be looking at that.
Don't do that. Email
I'm
us.
not looking at that even during the season, let alone when the season's finished.
Bigbankpod@gmail.com, Dan, and we'll send you your lovely prize.
Yeah.
Okay. So
That's it then for another year.
Look, the sun's shining, Dan. Gary's presumably back in
Alderley Edge.
Lancashire already. Perks is looking for his car keys somewhere on the pitch currently with a metal detector.
Perks is locked in his flat, can't get out.
He's
trying to go home, can't.
He's due at the county show at the weekend to judge the best heifer.
Yeah. Is the county show this weekend, is it?
Yeah, I think maybe. Weekend after. Soon. Fast approaching. So
exciting.
It's all happening. Thank you everyone for listening this season. We'll be back, like Dan said, when something big happens or around the time of the first friendlies.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, but maybe a bit after even,
maybe a bit after. There's a few coming up, aren't there? There's
It'll be
the
a
Sweeney
while.
testimonial against Swansea.
Yeah.
And I saw another one, didn't I?
I don't think anything else has been announced yet,
Right.
but I imagine there'll be the usual
Yeah.
usual kind of thing.
Okay. All good?
All good, yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. My name's John. I've been here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Cheers.
See you soon.